Media News Package for today, Friday, 6th December 2019. In our lead stories, nationally, increase in exports from St. Kitts and Nevis for 2019, and Her Excellency Verna Mills, St. Kitts Nevis' first non-resident High Commissioner to Kenya. Regionally, Skerrit says elections will be held and law and order will be maintained. Internationally, Nairobi governor arrested over Kenyan corruption scandal. And in sports, former England cricket captain dies aged 70. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, speaking at his monthly press conference on Wednesday, 4th December, indicated that the Twin Island nation has had an increase in exports. This, he noted, as he addressed the economic position of the Federation for the calendar year. He provided figures that showed that there has been over a 100% increase of exports for 2019.
Our merchandise export by sea increased by 179% from 23,883 tons for the period January to November 2018 to a whopping 66,628 tons for the period January to November 2019. Our outbound cargo by year increased from 260 tons January to November in 2018 to 267 tons for the comparative period in 2019.
The Honorable Timothy Harris. The Finance Minister explained that despite the challenges and stern competition in the export market, this speaks volumes to the exports that are being made.
This speaks to a recovery in manufacturing volume, notwithstanding the competitive challenges which the plants here face from China and elsewhere. Indeed, we have to compete globally, and the increased production is reflected in more jobs being available right here in St. Kitts.
The Honorable Timothy Harris. St. Kitts and Nevis now has its first non-resident High Commissioner to the Republic of Kenya. Her Excellency Verna Mills presented her letter of commission to the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, today, Friday, 6 December, accredited her to the post. In a brief ceremony held at the State House, the official residence of the President, High Commissioner Mills, together with the Ambassador of Algeria and the High Commissioner of Bangladesh, was received and greeted by President Kenyatta. Each designate was required to read his or her accreditation speech, to which the President responded. High Commissioner Mills is expected to meet with several cabinet ministers during the course of the next few days in an effort to strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries. She will also participate as the head of the delegation in the 9th ACP Summit, which will take place in Nairobi from December 6 to December 10, 2019. Further to this, High Commissioner Mills will continue to operate out of Havana, Cuba, where she is based as the ambassador to Cuba. The agriculture sector here in Nevis has throughout the year pushed for the general public to buy local and eat local. This mantra, promoted by the sector, aims towards a healthier way of living for citizens and residents, with the aim of curbing a number of diseases, including non-communicable diseases, NCDs. For this reason, it was impressed upon farmers to produce more local foods for consumption and also for exportation. In making his address on the 2020 budget debate, Deputy Premier of Nevis and Minister with responsibility for agriculture, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, noted that there has been an increase in the production of crops here on the island.
Based on the numbers I was given, there was a 6% increase over the same period of 2018, where at least 235,778 pounds of vegetables were produced in 2018, as against 250,541 pounds in 2019.
Minister Jeffers further expounded on this by saying farmers can further use this as an incentive to capitalize on crop production.
Even though there were some challenges and difficulties, it is obvious that we have been able to do some production here on the island of Nevis. Let me give you an idea, Mr. President, because there are some opportunities that I believe that these numbers will create for our farmers and point them in a direction where, in terms of what we have been able to produce and what has been imported, these numbers are important because where there is an increase in importation, I believe we can minimize that by creating or increasing our production here on the island of Nevis.
The Honorable Alexis Jeffers. In more national news.
In addition to our administrative staff, we are plagued by the shortage of nurses at Alexandra. A physical therapist has just recently joined staff, and in the new year, we will have a mental health nurse. Mental health is a growing concern. We have seen a number of new cases this year alone, and the statistics from PAO and all the other leading agencies have indicated that this trend will continue upward.
That was Junior Minister with Responsibility of Health on Nevis, the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. The Junior Minister of Health made the announcement at the Nevis Island Administration 2020 Budget Address 2019. According to mentalhealth.gov, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. At the local mental health unit exhibition held earlier this year on the grounds of the NIA in Charlestown as part of the World Mental Health Day on Nevis, Mrs. Brandy Williams noted that there are more than 250 active clients who are serviced by the 6-member staff at the unit. She also encouraged persons to pursue studies in the area of mental health as the department is understaffed. Still in national news.
One of the things that IT has to do is to protect the NIA email system, so we just upgraded our system. We just bought a new piece of equipment, I think 25,000 US, to help to prevent those type of things. So we are continuously upgrading our security.
That was Junior Minister with Responsibility of Information Technology, the Honorable Troy Liburd. The Junior Minister made the announcement while speaking at the Nevis Island Administration 2020 Budget Address 2019. Major cybersecurity issues this year, according to SecurityBoulevard.com, are phishing attacks, which aim to obtain sensitive information such as users' names, passwords, social security numbers, and credit card details, etc. IoT ransomware, which are attacks on home appliances and services sensors, as they can be held hostage and are potential targets for hackers to access information in back-end systems such as those of power grid and communication facilities, and cyber attacks on mobile devices. Taiwanese ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Tom Lim, on Wednesday, 4th December, paid a courtesy call to the Small Enterprise Development Unit, SEDU, here on Nevis. Business Counseling and Marketing Officer at SEDU, Ms. Rhonda Thompson, spoke to the VON Newsline about Ambassador Lee's visit.
He came to basically check up on the status of the relending project for women and youth 35 and under, which will kickstart in January 2020.
Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance in the Nevis Island Administration NIA, the Honorable Mark Brantley, launched an entrepreneurship fund on November 20, 2019 during a symposium held by SEDU. The NIA, with the assistance of Taiwan, secured some $5 million, which will be used for the fund. According to Premier Brantley, the money will be lent at a nominal interest rate of no more than 3 or 4%. She explained that the unit is putting procedures in place for the commencement of the project.
Currently, we are putting tighter measurements in place to make sure that when you do come, you're serious about business, and once you get the funding, we can actually have economic growth through your small business so that we can keep sustainability of small businesses on Nevis.
Miss Rhonda Thompson. Persons here in Nevis are asked to take note of the traffic changes in Charlestown. A release from the police force notes that Jew Street is now a one-way street from Government Road to Marion Avenue. They are asking the public to be aware that there is no left turn off Marion Avenue and no right turn from Bakery Alley to Government Road. They have indicated that the bottom of Government Road is now a one-way road going down to the Island Main Road. There are no entry signs at the top of Bakery Alley towards Government Road and from Jews Cemetery to Daniel's Deck at the bottom of Government Road. Motorists are asked to be on the lookout for the various signs for directives. And finally, the Coral Princess of the Princess Cruises Line has made its inaugural visit to St. Kitts and Nevis. The vessel berthed off Port Zante on Thursday, 5th December, with over 2,000 plus passengers, including crew and guests. A ceremony held aboard the vessel where plaques were exchanged between the St. Kitts and Nevis and the vessel. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Carleen Henry Morton, welcomed the guests and crew of Coral Princess while noting that 5 of its sister ships have visited the country before. Plaque exchanges also took place with Coral Princess and other organizations including the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. The Coral Princess boasts more than 700 balcony state rooms, 1,000 guest cabins, 16 decks, and accommodates 2,000 guests and 895 crew. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com and check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Drive in style with your brand new vehicle. Compliments the Bank of Nevis Limited. We are offering 100% financing on all brand new vehicles at a very competitive interest rate. But that's not all. We are giving you up to 7 years to repay. That's right, 7 years. Contact us by phone or come into our branch today. All right. The Bank of Nevis Limited. My bank, your bank, our bank. The Bank of Nevis Limited. Improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook. Who got the keys to my bimmer?
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. Out of Dominica. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has made it clear that general elections will be held in Dominica today, Friday, 6 December 2019, despite ongoing protests in certain parts of the country for electoral reform. Skerrit said that law and order will be maintained in Dominica. According to Skerrit, he will not have lawless persons attempt to frustrate decent voters on their way to the polls or destroy the democratic process in Dominica. Law enforcement officials have exercised as much restraint as is humanly possible, he remarked. Skerrit continued, they have endured verbal abuse, physical abuse, threats of violence, injury, and even threats of death. He went on to say that many law-abiding citizens have been harassed. Skerrit stated further that he has been concerned and have requested support from the Regional Security System, RSS, who are presently on the island helping to bring law and order to the country. Skerrit said he is determined to keep the majority of the citizens of Dominica safe from the few opposition hooligans. Out of Jamaica. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says that to further protect citizens from the evolving threat of cybercrime, the government is working towards the development of a national cyber policy in 2020. Speaking at a cyber security and cybercrime workshop for Latin America and the Caribbean at the Hilton Resort and Spa in St. James on Tuesday, he said that additionally, We will also be seeking to ensure that the entire government service has a reliable and robust cyber platform on which to operate and deliver quality and safe online service. This, he added, is being accomplished through the National Cybersecurity Strategy and the commendable work of agencies such as eGov Jamaica. Dr. Chan said the new National Identification System NIDS bill will further strengthen Jamaica's cybersecurity framework and will not only support the modernization of their information and communications technology ICT infrastructure, but it will also facilitate the introduction of a multi-layered technology security system to mitigate vulnerabilities associated with cyber activities. He further argued that data protection is critical to the security infrastructure of any governance system, noting that for this reason the government has sought to address in earnest the finalization of a data protection bill. Out of St. Martin. The Court of Appeals on Thursday decided to temporarily suspend the detention of a 61-year-old suspect for urgent medical reasons. The defendant will be released from pre-trial detention at 9 a.m. Tuesday, December 7th, and must return to Point Blanche prison no later than 5 p.m. on May 7, 2020, the court ordered. In case he would not be able to return by that time, the court demanded a doctor's letter to indicate the reasons for any delay, such as hospital stay or rehabilitation. If the defendant remains abroad without any proper notification, the Court of Appeals said the prosecutor's office would immediately be notified to engage International Criminal Police Organization Interpol in bringing the defendant back to St. Martin. The Court of First Instance on February 24th sentenced suspect Colin Christensen to 7 years in prison for a large number of crimes, among them the sexual abuse of a minor, the possession, production and distribution of child pornography, and bribery of a police officer. Together with a former member of the police force of St. Martin, he was also found guilty of fencing a number of diamonds in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma in September 2017. And finally, out of the Turks and Caicos Islands. Sandals has won the first stage in its battle against a multi-million-dollar lawsuit which claims thousands of holidaymakers at beaches, TCI and other resorts were overcharged for their vacations. The resort giant, the Caribbean's biggest employer, filed a motion in July claiming the case should be thrown out of the Florida Federal Court, as the state has no jurisdiction over the Jamaican corporation. The court agreed, and on November 19th, it dismissed the tax fraud claim against the company, saying it should instead be heard in the TCI, where Beaches TCI is domiciled. Attorney Michael Winkleman of the U.S. law firm bringing the action had previously told the Weekly News he was keen to have the case heard in Miami due to the harsh penalties in the U.S. Winkleman of Miami-based Lipcon, Margulies, Alsina and Winkleman claims as many as 10,000 holidaymakers in the TCI, Antigua, Barbados and St. Lucia had unfairly high rates of accommodation taxes levied on their bills to increase Sandals' profits. Sandals has vigorously denied the allegations from the onset, labeling them as baseless both in fact and law. That's it for Regional Stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. Nairobi's controversial Governor Mike Sonko has been arrested on suspicion of involvement in a multi-million-dollar corruption scandal. The Director of Public Prosecution said the investigation had been challenging because of repeated attempts by the accused to obstruct it. Mr. Sonko is known for his love of gold jewelry and clothing. He has previously described the allegation as a witch hunt carried out for political reasons. More in this BBC report.
Governor Mike Sonko was arrested Friday in the rural town of Voi, just hours after the Director of Public Prosecution said there was sufficient evidence to prosecute the politician over the misappropriation of $3.5 million. Mr. Sonko is accused of irregularly awarding tenders to his close aides, forging documents and misappropriating county funds. The Director of Public Prosecutions also raised concerns over alleged attempts by the governor to hinder investigations, intimidation and barring of evidence. Sonko had earlier sought court orders to stop the investigations, but the case was dismissed.
R. Kelly has been charged with bribing a government official in order to get a fraudulent identification document to marry an underage girl in 1994. The girl, named only as Jane Doe in the documents, has widely been identified by U.S. media as singer Aaliyah. They got married when she was 15 and R. Kelly was 27. The certificates leaked at the time listed her age at 18. R. Kelly is facing several sexual abuse charges with trials in Chicago and New York next year. He denies wrongdoing. The latest criminal indictment was filed by federal prosecutors in Brooklyn, New York, and expands on charges filed against him in July. Indian police have shot dead 4 men suspected of raping and killing a young female vet in Hyderabad last week. The men were in police detention and were taken back to the scene of the crime in the early hours on Friday. The suspects were shot when they tried to steal the officers' guns and escape, police told BBC Telugu. However, human rights organizations including Amnesty International have called for investigations to determine if these were extrajudicial killings. The 27-year-old rape victim's charred remains were discovered last Thursday, leading to outrage and protest over alleged police inaction. And finally, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been visiting the Auschwitz Nazi death camp in her first trip to the site while in office. She is taking part in the ceremony alongside a camp survivor and Polish Prime Minister. Her visit comes amid a rise in German anti-Semitism and ahead of the 75th anniversary of the camp's liberation. Mrs. Merkel said she felt shamed by the crimes perpetrated by the Nazi.
For me, it is anything but easy to stand here before you and to speak to you. I'm filled with deep shame in the face of the barbaric crimes that were committed here by Germans. Crimes that are unfathomable, that defy our imagination and are inconceivable.
The Nazi regime murdered an estimated 1.1 million people, the vast majority of them Jewish, at Auschwitz-Birkenau. The Chancellor was pictured walking through the notorious Arbeit Macht Frei gates at Auschwitz. She held a minute's silence at the so-called Black Wall, where thousands of prisoners were executed before moving to the Birkenau, where she gave a speech. That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
You made a list and checked it twice. Gifts for the family, home renovations, new car, debt consolidation. Come in and finance all your Christmas dreams this season with a Christmas loan from TDC Financial Services. Get up to $50,000 with $35,000 unsecured and up to 4 years to repay. Win awesome prizes like 55-inch smart televisions, tablets, and much, much more. TDC is Christmas, where money is made easy.
Welcome back, and now the sports in detail. In cricket, former England captain Bob Willis has died at the age of 70. The fast bowler took 325 wickets in 90 tests from 1971 to 1984, claiming a career best 8 for 43 to help England to a famous win over Australia at Headingley in the 1981 Ashes. He captained England in 18 tests and 29 one-day internationals before his retirement from all forms of cricket in 1984. In a statement, Willis's family said he had died after a long illness. Willis subsequently worked as a summarizer on BBC TV before joining Sky Sports as a commentator in 1991. He continued to work for Sky and was part of their coverage of this summer's Ashes series. The England and Wales Cricket Board said it was deeply saddened to say farewell to a legend of English cricket. In football, Chelsea can sign players in January after having their FIFA transfer ban reduced following an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The Premier League side was given a 2-window ban by FIFA in February for breaching rules in signing young players. CAS halved the ban to 1 window, which was served during the summer. It also reduced the fine for the London club from 600,000 to 300,000 Swiss francs. Chelsea was given a transfer ban after 150 rule breaches involving 69 academy players over several seasons, according to the judgment published by FIFA. CAS found that the Blues did violate rules related to the international transfer of minors and to the first registration of minors, but for a significantly smaller number of players, amounting to about a third of the violations found by FIFA. Details of the case, which was recently published on a FIFA legal website, showed Chelsea claimed many academy players were only trialists and did not play in the organized matches. In tennis, former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki has announced she will retire after the Australian Open in January. The 29-year-old is currently ranked 37th in the world and last competed in the China Open in October. Wozniacki, who enrolled at Harvard Business School in September, was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2018. However, the Dane says her retirement has nothing to do with her health and that isn't a goodbye. In a lengthy post on Instagram, the 2018 Australian Open champion says she plans to focus on her life away from tennis, including plans to start a family with her former Golden State Warriors player husband, David Lee. Wozniacki's career includes 30 WTA singles titles, reaching world number 1 in 2010, a WTA finals victory, and competing in 3 Olympics. And finally, in athletics, it was a 38-year-old wait when the hard work paid off for Christina Tham at the Southeast Asian SEA Games in the Philippines this week. Tham first represented Singapore at the SEA Games, a regional Olympic-style event in 1981, winning silver in swimming at the age of 12. Now aged 50, she returned to the Games and finally went on better. Tham won not 1, but 2 gold medals in underwater hockey, a sport making its debut in the Games. And that's it for sports. The General Weather Report is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of overnight showers. Weather tomorrow will be partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Winds are east at 19 to 30 kilometers per hour or 10 to 16 knots. Seas are 1.2 to 1.8 meters or 4 to 6 feet. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:27 a.m. And that's a wrap up the major news package for today, Friday, 6 December 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, increase in exports from St. Kitts and Nevis for 2019. And Her Excellency Verna Mills, St. Kitts Nevis' first non-resident High Commissioner to Kenya. Regionally, Skerrit says elections will be held and law and order will be maintained. Internationally, Nairobi governor arrested over Kenya corruption scandal. And in sports, former England cricket captain dies aged 70. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashon Tyson, wishing you a pleasant weekend.